Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Usually I start my videos from the positive news, but this particular video I want to begin from the challenges that the Ukrainian army is facing now on the eastern part of Ukraine. In particular the situation in Ocheretyne, Kharkiv and Novokalynove and also in Berdyche. We're gonna analyze why this Russian breakthrough actually happened and what mistakes were done also by Ukrainian command, so what led to this scenario. But firstly, let's go for the military update in the sector for today. So it was yesterday and it is today. We see how Russia occupied this part and also continued their advancement beyond Ocheretyne westbound. Let's go to the satellite image, according to which Russia already occupied Ocheretyne. Yeah, the part of the settlement is still in a gray area, but mostly it's been occupied. In general, for now, Russia has several of the attack vectors, one to Kharkiv, one from Ocheretyne, one from Solovyove, the village that was also occupied a couple of days ago. As you can see, Russia advances with quite narrow and direct attacks. Well, actually, they're risking a lot with those attacks because Ukraine might cut those attack vectors, but Ukraine doesn't have enough supplies, steel, and enough resources for those counterattack operations here, for example, or over here. And actually, it's the reason number one why this Russian breakthrough happened after all. But as I say to you, there were also some of the mistakes done by Ukrainian command as well. To discuss those, we're gonna use the 3D map for you to understand everything. I think it's more interactive compared to the deep state. At least here you can zoom in and check the 3D picture. So as we know, Russia occupied Avdiivka already quite a long time ago, and after it they continued their advancement mostly towards Tonenke, but also they expanded this bridgehead towards Stepova. There were heavy fights for Stepova for quite a long time, but finally Russians were able to capture it and kept it under control for several weeks, trying also to advance to Berdyche. But here, the Ukrainian defense was really robust. Ukraine kept the 47th Brigade to counteract the Russian attacks. Russia sent numerous of the mid-waves with lots of the losses. Vehicles, but mostly infantry. This brigade was definitely very successful and Russia bogged down with their offensive. So they went. That's why the major strike direction for Russia wasn't over here, but, as I say to you, towards Tonenke. But in this place, their convoy was also ambushed by Ukrainian defenders and they were forced to stop. Actually, there was a biggest battle since the beginning of the war. 36 of the Russian armored vehicles and tanks were stopped at a single day. Some of them managed to return, but mostly were kaputted. So here Ukraine definitely was able to counteract to the Russian attacks, as well as in this direction in Berdyche. The only place where Russia was capable to advance was the Orlivka village. But in general, the situation was kind of stable for a couple of weeks. That made Ukrainian officials together with Zelensky say that Russian advancement stopped. Zelensky says Russian advances in Ukraine halted. He said about it on 11th of March, so the last month, but exactly 1 month later, April 11th, Russia was capable to break through Ukrainian defense. Why am I so sure about this date? Because if we check out the deep state military map, if we go to this date, April 11th, you see the first advancement of the Russian army through the railroad, and later on they went with a very narrow attack towards Ocheretyne. So April 16th they already went to the settlement. There was the attempt of Ukraine to strike them back, so like this, and the next day it was like that, but Russia continued with their resources, and finally we have what we have today. So at first they went here and just a few days ago towards Kharkiv and Novokalynove. So why Russia has this tactical success? Well, first of all, as I told you, lack in ammunition for Ukraine, lack in resources. Second, Russia doesn't care about their losses. All of their attacks are basically very fatal for their infantry, for their vehicles, but nevertheless they are goal-oriented and they don't care, well, their commanders do not care about the Russian army losses, they just send them wave after wave. Those attacks were mainly conducted by the Russian infantry. They use armored vehicles and tanks time to time. The major assault force for them in this region in particular are the pure mid-waves. Yeah, I forgot to expand this picture, sorry. But still, as I told you, there was the tactical mistake done by Ukrainian command. A very capable 47th Brigade that was based in Berdichi and also stayed on the way against the Russian attacks was removed from the area and was displaced with 115th Brigade. This brigade was formed at the very beginning of the war from mostly volunteers, and they didn't have the previous military experience. Yeah, they are fighting already for 2 years, but still those are the volunteers, very motivated soldiers, but there are also questions for the brigade command. It was changed many of the times, and definitely compared to the 47th Brigade, this is less effective. Guys, in my analysis, I rely on some of the Ukrainian media sources and independent journalists. They also said about this stuff in their media. I trust the opinion of one of the journalists because he went to the place, he spoke with the Ukrainian military, so he knows the stuff. So why the 47th Brigade, capable brigade, was changed after all? Well, simply because Ukrainian command was forced to change it, to rotate it, let's say, because Russia struck this area with many of the mid-waves with huge losses, but again they caused Ukraine losses too. So guys from the 47th stayed there for a very long time with no rotation. They were already desperate fighting against the Russian army because everything has its limits. But the Ukrainian command decided to exchange them for kind of the incapable brigade, especially judging on the intensity of this very hot spot. For the Ukrainian military command, it should have been understandable that this brigade will not be able to perform its task. Just to recall the situation from 2022 in Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, the towns that were occupied by the Russian army. So the fights for Severodonetsk continued for a very long time, but after all, Russia was quite fast advancing towards Lysychansk. And there was 115th Brigade, the same brigade that was deployed to Ocheretyne direction. This brigade was really unexperienced in 2022, and still this tale of the lack of training at the very beginning goes with them even today. Also, as I told you, there were problems with the command of this particular brigade. Guys, I want to state here that the soldiers of 150th Brigade are good. They are fighting very bravely, and it's not their fault that they are thrown to the most difficult directions by the time they don't have enough military training or enough military experience compared to other Ukrainian brigades that are fighting for a longer time or have more adequate and competent command. It was, as I say to you, a big problem for 150th Brigade. The command, not the soldiers. Soldiers are good. They just need to be deployed at the proper places at the proper time. So let's go back to our place, Ocheretyne. And guys, sorry, this analysis is quite long. I want to make a short break. If you want to support my daily job on YouTube, you may join my Patreon page. It is available with a link in the description just below, or you may scan the QR code available on the screen. Thank you so much for your kind and awesome support. Alright, let's go back to the analysis. The change of the brigade, the rotation itself, is a very difficult and vulnerable situation itself, because previous brigade that was fighting there for a very long time knows everything: terrain, the places where Russia attacks, the time that Russia attacks. For them, this situation was a routine. But new brigade, which was also less capable, went to the place, everything is new for them, and Russia decided to strike with their major force at that particular time. Russians didn't come out with any sort of the bright ideas. What they did is they went all across the railroad with their major force, huge midwave, causing Ukrainian Brigade, 150th Brigade, to leave their positions and go to Ocheretyne. Russia also advanced to Berdichi, but wasn't able to capture the place. The fights for the central part of Ocheretyne settlement continued just for a couple of days, and now we know that Russia advanced even further, occupying this place, so it is no longer a gray zone. Here we have the last update. So in 1 week, Russia was able to capture the settlement. It's the most rapid Russian attack since they were able to capture Avdiivka. But their Ukrainian army had the order to withdraw their forces. Here, I think there was no order. 150th Brigade wasn't just capable to keep their positions against the Russian midwaves. But honestly, it's hard for me to state that 100%. Maybe they even had the order to withdraw their forces because local military command saw that they're unable to cope with Russian strikes. This is the map from Ocheretyne, I think dated from 2 or even 3 days ago. You see that 115th Brigade went to the north and other brigades are now defending Ocheretyne. But as I showed to you before, the settlement was mostly occupied by the Russian army already, and they've moved towards this place. And if you check the analysis from the Micro 73, you'll see that Russia constantly uses aviation bombs. And lots of the artillery in combination with their mid-wave attacks. That's why they're so successful. As you can see, Ukraine also uses JDAM sometimes, but our aviation is not that effective compared to the Russian one, and our gliding bombs are not so devastating compared to the Russian gliding FAB 1500. Those Russian gliding bombs became more precise. Then Russia occupied Ocheretyne. I was almost sure that they will stay in a place to create more robust supply lines to expand this bridgehead sideways, but actually they decided to move further to the northwest. At the same time, here you can see the Ukrainian defense lines. They're shown in blue. I just want to highlight them. And as you can see, Russia broke through Ukrainian defense. Yeah, later on there is also the other defense line, but they already broke through the first one. They also understood that the southern area is less protected compared to this one. For this reason, they advanced to Novobakhmut and to Solovyovo, occupying 2 of those settlements. By the way, here we also have the defense line, but it doesn't go like that as shown on this map. It goes something like this. It is not a constant range, it is not interconnected, unfortunately. So those lines are not that robust as Russia was able to build on the south. It is one more big mistake by Ukrainian command that our army was oriented on attack missions in 2023. But actually it should have been prepared for the defense mostly as we see right now. The modern day trenches should go underground. They shouldn't be just the trenches because Russia continued to use FPV drones, they use artillery, and everything of that goes on the heads of our defenders. The defense should have been built near Avdiivka and after Avdiivka, and over here there was plenty of time in 2023 to do it. The other thing that concerns me in this place that Russians were able to cross this river over here. They were able to occupy Berdiche, and it was only possible with their advancement towards Ocheretyne because they turned also southbound. So Ukrainian army in Semenivka and Berdiche was forced to fight against the Russian army attacking from many of the directions. That's why our guys left this place. So the Russian attack towards Ocheretyne launched the chain reaction. They also advanced here and also went to this place. Now let's zoom into the area to check out the terrain. Here in Ocheretyne the terrain is more or less flat, however it goes down to those lakes. It makes the village of Arhangelsk kind of vulnerable against the Russian attacks because it's on a lower ground. So I predict that the next Russian move will be to assault to this village to expand this bridgehead. They might try to take it in the coming days. Also, if they occupy Ceramic, they may advance from this sector as well. So attack from this side, from this side. For sure, they will try to get all of this region under their control. Here we see the war obstacle, so Russia probably wouldn't go straight away across it. The main idea for Russians is to occupy villages, settlements, small towns, because they can use the basements out there to hide from Ukrainian FPV drones. And actually, I want to tell you and encourage you a little, even though this Russian advancement looks very fast and firm, but still they have tremendous losses, absolutely tremendous. For the last day, for a single day, they lost 1,350 soldiers, KA and wounded. In their propaganda Russian TV, they say that they take village after village, town by town, but they never say about the losses for Russia. If those kind of the attack continues, Russia would obviously need to announce a new mobilization. Now Russia says that soon there is gonna be a battle for the city of Pokrovsk, but Pokrovsk is over here. It's still far away from the front lines. It's early to say, very early, that Russia is able to go with this attack vector towards this settlement. I think that with the current losses, they are unable to do it. Obviously, if Ukraine had stayed without any military support from the allies, this scenario could be possible during the summer campaign, but our allies start to send weaponry to Ukraine, which is awesome. So I believe that Ukraine will be able to stop the Russian advancement in the coming months. Guys, I hope that the situation for you is more understandable in this part of the front lines. I think that I've done quite a detailed analysis about what is happening without touching any sort of the very important information that I shouldn't share. Well, what else we have from today's update? Russia tries to regain the control over Nestryha island. Yesterday, Ukraine was capable to take all of this island under control, but today you see that Russia landed their forces and they start to attack it. But Ukraine still keeps control over some territory of the island. Yeah, those news are also not good. Let's go to the timeline. It was yesterday and it is today. Most of the sites are using boats to operate in this region. If we go to the northeast part, Kharkivska Oblast, Russia also has the attack vector in Kislivka village, so it was before and it is today. They advanced, occupying all of the settlement. Well, still it has couple of the streets with those private buildings, but in general the central part of it was captured by Russians. Now their goal is to move to the nearby village. The fighting for it continues. And the main plan for the Russian army is to occupy all of that territory on the east from the Oskil River. Well, at least they try to do it with their advancements in Terny in Liman direction, and also we see in Kislivka as well. They gathered 3 of the main groups of their forces, one near Kupiansk, one is here, and one in Liman direction. Also, we start to receive the information that Russia sent their reinforcements in Belgorod Oblast, deploying them not far away from the Ukrainian border. Also, the Chechen Akhmat battalion confirmed that they sent their soldiers out there, and some of the mainstream media sources like Financial Times say that Russia might strike Kharkiv this spring. At the same time, Ukrainian officials say that they don't see a huge group of the Russian armed forces near Ukrainian border in Belgorod Oblast. To the other news, Russia attacked Odesa city today. This is the building of the Law Academy just at the shore, and Russia struck with some of the ballistic missiles, causing devastations to the building, and also there are some of the civilian losses, unfortunately. As experts say, there was lots of the shrapnel inside the missile. It went to the local part and hit the people who were just hiking there. Russia has started the construction of the new military airfield in Belgorod Oblast, not far away from Ukrainian border. So it is the old image, and this is the new one. You can see the silhouette of the runway. Soon they're gonna pave it. It means that Russia is determined to continue the war for a very long time. They even moved their military logistics, investing lots of the funds in it. We have some good news from Telegram. Telegram unblocked all of the Ukrainian bots that are used to deliver the information to Ukrainian army, to Ukrainian intelligence. Those services were blocked by mistake, as Telegram officials now confirmed. So even though those bots are a little bit against the Telegram policy in general, but Telegram supports those to help Ukraine. So you may dislike this service, and Durov personally, you may dislike Elon Musk, but Telegram helps Ukraine a lot, as well as Starlink. So we have to take this reality and work with the tools provided by those guys. We don't have the other option, because it basically makes the job for Ukrainian army more effective. What I do not understand at all, that Tucker Carlson took the interview with Dugin, the ideologist of the Russian peace, or you may call it the Russian world, so the Russian fascism. Putin quoted Dugin many of the times he related to his ideology. Well, I may understand that Tucker Carlson takes interview with Vladimir Putin, because after all, he's a main influencing figure in this war. He's a Russian president, aggressor who started this war. But here, I mean, this guy is not the Russian official, he's the Russian fascist. I think that this interview really ruined the remains of the reputation of Tucker Carlson. So here I think that it was a big mistake, because we may state that Carlson was paid especially for this stuff. He really pushes Russian propaganda. have no doubts about it after I see this picture. I try to be more serious today, but we have cringe news all the time, like every day. The son of Ramzan Kadyrov, Adam Kadyrov, who is 16 years old, became a curator of the local Spetsnaz University. Yeah, you heard it correctly. A Russian university of special forces named after Vladimir Putin. And this is now in charge of it. I'm actually out of words. What is happening in Chechnya with Kadyrov clan is just crazy stuff with its absolute out of reality comedy-looking dictator ruling policy. I mean, even filming the parody on Kadyrov and his family, you wouldn't come out with this idea because you would think that it's so cringy that it would never happen in a real life, but it is happening. Adam Kadyrov already was rewarded with many of the medals. One of those was for beating one of the Russian guy who tried to do something with Quran. Well, the good news that if the system in Russia is like that, it means that it is doomed. It cannot live for many more years. The destiny of Russia is known. Russian regime would collapse. Also, Chechen regime too. Russia will be formatted. It's just a matter of time because the system itself really doesn't work. It has incompetent people all around in the Russian army, basically in every sphere of the Russian life. Oh my god, they even used this image for the Russian army service advertisement. Kind of a strange thing happened in Russia, in Caucasus region of Karacháyevo, Cherkessia. Some of the Russian policemen were just shot with the help of AK by the group of people. Those people haven't been yet found. I think that it is probably a revenge of the radical Islamist groups inside Russian Federation for what Russian police forces done with attackers on the Crocus City Hall. Then they really tortured those attackers. I predicted that this stuff could happen, and it's not the first attack. A few days ago, similar stuff happened in the same region. We have great news again from Germany. They will deliver a new military package to Ukraine, including Skynex and RST air defense systems, shells for Gepard tank, mortars, 10 of them, artillery shells, and many more other stuff. Awesome, Germany really supports Ukraine. Australia also allocated $100 million for the support of Ukraine. Awesome, guys. This video shows the pilot and the cockpit of Sukhoi 27 Ukrainian fighter jet and how our guys operate in the skies. Well, what is interesting about it is that we see that our guys are using iPads to fly their airplanes. Just on the front desk, you see the iPad. Well, there is underneath the artificial horizon and other instruments, but for navigation, I think this stuff is connected with this tracking GPS. Why do I think that it is the iPad and not the glass cockpit? Because Sukhoi 27 doesn't have the glass cockpit, and we see the holder. The holder is over here and here as well. So basically, it is a removable iPad. I know that our guys have a special software that shows the location of the Russian missiles. Not very precise, but at least they might fly and locate missiles using their radars. And also it might be used for navigation. Then I was flying as a commercial pilot. We also used iPads for the charts, for the manuals. It really simplifies your workload. Well, now we have a glass cockpit Sukhoi 27. Reuters says that 61 billion United States dollars is not enough for Ukrainian support. Ukraine needs at least 88 of the billion dollars per year to be effective on the front lines and to make a long-term strategy till 2028. But on my personal opinion, even this military support is good for Ukraine in the current conditions. We are not speaking about the counterattack by Ukrainian army, the massive one, no. Here the Ukrainian army needs to stop the Russian offensive, to hold defense, and I think this helps a lot. My friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And also, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.